everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rouge Rugby podcast. My name is Dan Murphy, and with me always is Derek Brissett and Stu.
Oh, man, you're getting geez, Dan, you take a week off and you get rusty.
Hopefully the arrows won't be as rusty as I am coming off of their bye week.
Yeah, that was.
We just got Derek with me today. Stu is back saving the world. How you doing, buddy? We had a arrowless weekend, but it was kind of action packed with rugby, and the Maple Leafs are now 3-1, or have a 3-1 series lead over our rivals, the Montreal Canadiens. So it's been a busy but good sports weekend, long weekend in Canada.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know, like, on one hand, I know we're all kind of like, it kind of stinks. The Arrows had to wait so much longer than everybody else to finally get their bye week. But on the other hand, I'm also kind of like, shout out to that schedule maker that was like, Leafs and Habs, no Arrows games to conflict with that.
I wonder if they made that schedule thinking that like maybe the Arrows might make it back to Canada and they wanted the long weekend. One day off of training. I guess now they're in Atlanta. They're like, you guys can't celebrate anyway the long weekend. So we got training on Monday.
Training on Monday. Hey, but it looked like, I think what was it after the Atlanta? Was it after the Atlanta game or in Rumball? Kind of maybe I should double check this before mentioning it on the podcast. But they're kind of I think like Rumball's kind of talking about doing like, it'd be good to like, you can kind of step away from rugby for a bit.
Yeah. That's right. They were interviewed, him and Chris Silverthorne. They had a really tough interview that they had after the Fire and Ice Cup.
Yeah. So then it kind of looked like, looking from social media, it looks like some guys went to Florida. It looks like some guys went like hiking in like the Grand Canyon or something like that. Golf. Yeah. So
Will Kelly got to spend time with his like family and stuff.
Cool. Like that's cool. So it was it was nice to kind of see that on like social media. Hopefully the guys all kind of got out and enjoyed that bye week and, kind of hit the reset button again. And
for sure,
like get a bit of a clear picture of what the East standings look like now that everyone's at an even 9 games. And we'll dive into that a little bit.
We're gonna get into that. Now, I actually wanted to ask you a question about hockey.
Oh, okay.
So, Derek and I are both Leaf fans. Stu, I believe, is also a Leaf fan as well. We got to watch one of our rivals blow a 4-1 lead in hockey. The Edmonton Oilers blew a 4-1 lead in game 3.
Game 3, yeah.
Against the Winnipeg Jets and lost. And then the next night were then swept out of the playoffs, which is just so satisfying to watch. Now, my question to you, Derek, is what is more embarrassing? What happened to the Maple Leafs in 2013 where they lost in game 7, or losing a 4-1 lead and then the next night getting swept in like triple overtime?
First of all, why do you hate Edmonton so much? What did they ever do to you?
Well, my little brother lives out in Edmonton.
Oh, okay.
So this year I got a steady feed of like Ethan Bear is like an up and coming defenseman. They got Evan Bouchard, McDavid's having an unreal season. Drysaddle's like my brother's a Leafs fan.
McDavid had one of the best seasons ever.
Yeah. Which
I think
fine.
I think that's like with the Oilers. I think that's the thing that's the most disappointing. Is it's like McDavid put up one of the best seasons of all time. He had over 100 points in half a year. Like that, like absolutely disgusting number. Like I think, what was it, like only like 6 or 7 years ago, Jamie Benn won the Hart Trophy with 80 points.
Yeah.
And like McDavid just put up 100 in like 56 games or whatever. So it's like I think if you're an Oilers fan, man, like you just like in a way you just kind of wasted one of the best seasons of all time and you just kind of watched it.
Well, people are talking about the GM about how Ken Holland at the trade deadline was like, well, sometimes not every year you can go all in.
You can go on. No, sir, you have Connor McDavid.
You have Connor McDavid, and at that point he was in the lead for scoring, and Drysaddle was like second,
third, I think,
or second at the time. Like I think King took a storm, but like. Dude,
I think from that point of view, like, it's not even that they blew a 4-1 lead too, though, but it's also like, one of their losses was 1-0. and it was like McDavid and Draisaitl one nothing in overtime, right? And it was like it's like, yeah, you couldn't get the offense going. You have two of the best offensive players in the world on your team,
Yeah.
and it was just like, yeah, like there's it's only I mean, this has been the whole thing with Edmonton for like since for the past decade, right? No matter how many first overall picks you get, you can't seem to surround them with anything, and then those first overall picks get shut down and when it matters and
Yeah.
you're out. I think from that point of view, maybe the Oilers won, but it's like the Leafs blowing their 4-1 lead is like historic. Like
I
that's
don't
like
know. People might
historic.
look back at this. Again, I think it's just like the
But that was
timing.
the thing that I think makes it worse though is like the Leafs were what 12 minutes away from winning the series. Like that's what that was. That was you were 12 minutes away from winning the series.
They
It
were
would have
also
been different.
severe underdogs. Like,
They were, but they were 12 minutes away from winning the series.
so are
And
you going with the Leafs one?
I think the Leafs one's worse just
Okay.
because like I mean just because it was like yeah, like I think in this one I think for is it I think in a weird way it's like it's I look at it as like Edmonton got their butts kicked and it's like you get to getting it's like you on one hand it was like they just got thoroughly beaten whereas the Leafs back in 2013 it was like round like you could smell round 2. Like
Mm,
you round 2 was there and then round 2 was gone.
that's fair.
Right.
All right. Well, let's talk some rugby. Finally, let's get
Finally,
into it.
yes.
I
And
didn't bring up curling.
so continues the tradition of not talking about rugby to start the show.
So we had a little bit of news in the last couple weeks. There is a new professional rugby league starting in North America, but it's actually seven-a-side competition. Premier Rugby Sevens was announced to launch in the fall of 2021. Already signed up are stars Perry Baker, Danny Barrett, Carlin Isles, Falau Nuya, Stephen Tomlinson, and the other really cool thing is that they've made a real push for gender equality with equal pay. So, women's Eagles, including Abby Costadis, Iana Mar, and Naya Tapper, have also all signed up. So that is fantastic to see. Um, Derek, I have a couple questions about this because it is a really interesting concept, and I hope it kind of
Mhm.
works out in North America. But my first one is how will this affect the Canada Sevens players? Because they have said that there will be tournaments across Canada or across the US and Canada. So it sounds like there's going to be a Canadian team or two
Well, they're winning
joining
they're
this.
using that like Premier Lacrosse League model, right? So none of the teams are actually going to represent cities. They're just going to be like team X, Y, and Z
But
or whatever.
you would think that Rugby Canada would be like, okay, well, we want a team of our B
Well,
players playing together, right? Like that would make the most
I
sense.
don't know if you necessarily want them playing. Like, I don't know if you like that's the same thing. Like, I don't know if you necessarily need them playing together. If Canadian players were like, I don't see why Canadian players can't be
But
like
isn't that the
on
whole point
par.
of like the arrows? Like one of the reasons why we want the arrows is not only do we want Canadian rugby players playing, but we want them playing together and developing
Yeah, but we also want
chemistry.
Canadian players on all the American teams too. Like, it's not.
Yeah, so I'm saying
Yeah,
not all of them have to be on one team, but I'm saying that
yeah.
Rugby Canada probably wants at least one team that has predominantly Canadians playing together so they can
You
build
might.
chemistry.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think right now, like the idea of having pro sevens is certainly cool.
Mm.
People online generally seem kind of excited about it. Um, there hasn't really been much to really come out of it beyond like the initial kind of announcement and some of the press release articles and things surrounding that. So it's like I think this is like it's tough to be like if you're asking like how's it going to affect the Canadian sevens players and stuff. It's tough to really say until until we know a little bit more about how the competition's actually going to shape out and how they're actually going to kind of utilize this. I would imagine if they got to fill out what are they starting with like six teams, six men's
Six
teams,
men's teams and four women's teams.
six. So I mean, so I would imagine like there's one that's not that many teams really, but I would imagine that there would be some spots for Canadian players. If they chose to go and play for that. Um, but like, yeah, like I think it's a cool thing that's announced and like the excitement. Like you said, you mentioned some of the names. I mean,
I
you
mean,
mentioned some
Perry
of the
Baker is
names.
a two-time Sevens Player of the Year.
Yeah, like you got Tapper. Oh, you got Tapper, Barrett, Baker. Like it's, you know, some of the biggest names in American set on the American Sevens teams, right? So
Mhm.
like, I think from that point, and you got Mike Tolkien, I guess, as the GM as well, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where some of the excitement kind of comes from, is that there's immediately big names attached to it. But I still think like it's tough to tell like what the impact is going to be on like
So
I
let me
think.
rephrase this. What do you want it to be? What do you want to see come out of this league for Canada?
I mean, hey, if more people can make money playing rugby, then that's cool. I think
Yeah.
that's like at the end of the day, like it'd be interesting like to see kind of like, as it just says starts in fall 2021, right?
Fall 2021. Yeah.
Fall 2021. So it'd be interesting to see how that, you know, when's the 2021-2022 World Seven Series? Have they announced what's going on with that?
Let me check.
Like if that like it'd be interesting to see how that kind of shapes up. Yeah, like I
Because
think
like the US has like the Falcons program and Canada has the Maple Leafs touring
yeah.
squad. So like we definitely do have players from both countries that are
No, I
like
can play, but I mean,
can
like
play.
you're kind of
So
throwing out that you got to have some sort of skill level though, man. Like 'cause they're throwing out like Perry Baker and Carlin Isles and Denny Barrett
yeah,
as like the first three men players that are signed, right? Then you got like Tapper and Gustatus
yeah.
among the women that are signed. So it's like it's, you know, they're throwing out some like those are heavyweight names, right? So
Hmm.
but like
So there's a event in Vancouver and London in September.
okay. So see that's the
Dates
interest.
dates to be announced.
Okay.
And then Singapore Halloween weekend.
Mm.
Hong Kong is then like a week later, and then Dubai and Cape Town are in December.
So there's two events happening in September.
Yes. It looks like
Ooh.
Vancouver's first and then London.
And the Premier Rugby Sevens is going to be taking place in September
Beginning.
beginning. See, that'd
Beginnings.
be the interest. So if there's events, then the Eagles are playing at those events, then like I mean, I have a hard time seeing Baker and Barrett like staying
I mean,
home
but
for that.
they're also like long in the tooth, right?
Yeah,
So maybe this is their like next venture is after the
yeah,
Olympics. They
maybe it is
say like Danny Barrett's been part of the sevens program for as
forever. Yeah,
long as I can remember. I remember seeing Perry Baker and Carlin Isles at the Pan Am Games in
yeah.
20,
Oh, they've all been around forever. I just
right? So I wonder if maybe that is part of it. And also like, yeah, no, it's with the world opening back up again, hopefully over the summer and going into the fall. I wonder if the
I-
sevens expectation is they want them to be playing instead of
yeah,
training during between those matches
yeah, maybe. I
before
mean,
those tours. So we'll see. It's yeah, it's
yeah, like I said, I think right now, like I think ultimately it's a cool idea to have professional sevens, and it's an interesting idea to have them like no cities being represented and to be like touring. And I know there was that one article with like their CEO talking about like how you can like comparing rugby sevens to like horse racing in a gambling sense, right? Where you can just show up and then so that'd be an interesting outlook if they choose to go that route too.
yeah.
I think right now it's one of those things where it's like they announced that it's gonna happen, and it's just like I feel like since like Major League Rugby has found success, it seems like every couple of months there's an announcement of like a new league or new like rugby
Yeah.
competition of some sort that comes up, and the fact that like none of them have really panned out
Well, let's talk
leaves
about
me
this. Yeah. So
leaves
let's kind of get into that a little bit. It's because
it's
one of my questions is about the World 10 series. You got to feel like if this is successful, it's going to take a big bite out of the World 10 series and
yeah,
people that are
probably
going to want to compete in that. And also like there's that and like you look at like the North American Rugby League, it's kind of had to slowly scale things back, especially in this
slowly, man. They're like
like
teams
half the league
conferences
isn't
are
playing.
dropping. Like
Yeah,
it's
like
yeah,
so
like but that's what I mean though. It's like it feels like all the time, like a series, there was even like some of them just get like there was dismissed immediately as like ridiculous ideas and stuff. But like I don't it's just it's one of those things where it's
what
like
I want is I
they
wanted
pop
to
up so often that I'm just like, I think set Pro Sevens would be cool, but I'm also like just kind of cautiously optimistic
Yeah,
about it
for
too,
sure.
right?
Let's see the cleats on the field before.
Yeah, like let's see, like you said, like we've been talking here for like 2 minutes, and you're already just like, oh wait, there's a World Sevens event at the same time as when this is supposed to start. So like,
Now,
are
like
like you
again,
know
a
what I
lot of
mean?
people are talking about this Premier Sevens as being a development kind of program for guys that
Yeah,
again
like that would be. I
like
think that
I
would be cool.
someone I think of is I think of someone like Kainoa Lloyd who has basically kind of been training at the headquarters, has done a couple tours, but like he hasn't really played a lot with the sevens
Yeah,
program. He's done
I mean,
Maple Leaf tours. I think this would be a perfect opportunity for a guy like him
I,
who wants to stick out and try to be an Olympian.
I mean, at the end of the day, if this works out and it's more opportunities for people to get paid to play rugby,
Yeah,
then I mean, like that's I think that's a good thing. Um, I just I think it's just something that I'm like I kind of want to see more of like the actual business plan and stuff behind it.
for sure.
Just to kind of see what it looks like. But like I said, cautiously optimistic. Like it would be cool to have Pro Sevens. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
say it wouldn't be, but um
And
I don't
again,
know.
like
It's just one of those things that I feel like I need more info to
for
really
sure.
before I get like super hyped up about it.
Yeah. I am excited about it. I'm not as jaded at the world as you are.
Yeah. Well,
But like it has the opportunity to be, and we talked it's funny, like I kind of went back to about
that
when
being
when
said,
we
like
heard.
I was surprised that the Bermuda Tens thing happened, the World
Yeah, and I
Series.
went
I was
back
thinking
actually. I
about
went
that.
back and I
So,
because I was listening to our preseason episode, and then I went back even further, and I looked about what we said about the World 10 series before like it actually happened. And I think what we said about that is kind of the same for this. I want this to be an opportunity for guys that play in like Major League Rugby that are looking to continuously play rugby and stay in shape and have an opportunity to show themselves off to MLR teams or to the national programs and just have fun playing rugby. And I think that's what this Premier Sevens needs to be. Spread the gospel of rugby
yeah.
across North America
Yeah. I'm not
and
gonna
make
say
it
no to more.
fun. I mean, the World Tens looked fun,
Yeah.
and who knows if we're gonna see that again. But that was a lot of fun. I would love to see the Miami Suns come back, or if they're just the Suns rugby, or the Phoenix rugby or Rhino rugby. Love to see some of those teams maybe make the cross into the sevens style tournament. So it's exciting stuff. Um, okay, Derek. Well, let's talk about week 10. There weren't any Arrows games. Again, they were on the bye
No.
week, so they were all off in
But
the
all the
Magic
games had the
Kingdom.
but all the games had the worst possible outcome for the Toronto Arrows.
Oh
So
yeah,
that's
it's like the week before. Yeah, it's funny you mention that because the week before it was like, oh, this was a great turnout for the Arrows. They won, and like almost everybody else lost.
yeah,
Fantastic. Come to this week, everybody that they needed to lose lost, and
yeah.
made
We got
the friggin' standings look
I
even
was
more
gonna say,
messy.
so we have the LA Guiltinis defeated their cousins, their brothers. What's the real I don't know, whatever. The
I think they're
Gilgro
brothers because their owner's the same guy, right? So it's like
oh, brothers. All right. So yeah,
Gilchrist is
so
their dad. So
yeah, there we go. So I guess the Guiltinis are now the favorite child. So they won 17-3. Um, Dan, you were excited about the Gilgronis potentially upsetting the Guiltinis there. It didn't happen though.
no, and it's very
You want to talk about
familiar.
this game that literally I feel like happened literally a week ago now?
Yeah, I know. I'll talk about it quickly because I honestly saw um what they looked like at the beginning of the year. Like they just looked
I,
really, really sickly. Like
they got
their
the
offense just wasn't there. It just
their offense. They don't. I mean, they've been winning games, but they've been winning low scoring
low
games.
scoring games. And
Um,
they did a really good job with LA. LA had
yeah,
one good try.
17 points.
That's damn good. I think that's probably their lowest output this year.
Well, they had that one game against New York.
Oh yeah, right. Forgot about that game. So second lowest score of the year. And you only put out, what did they put out? 6 points. Austin.
Austin had 3, 17 to
It was
3.
even worse.
But
It
it
was
was, but
even
like Austin,
worse.
Austin kind of ran into some like injury difficulties too, where I think they had to finish the game with 14 guys because there was no one left on the bench or whatever, right? So I mean,
Anyways,
that's kind of tough.
it was a tough one.
Yeah, But that was the only game that I guess from an Arrows making the playoffs perspective, that game's irrelevant. Just from the perspective of the Arrows making the
For sure.
and then just like three matchups of the East versus West, and the Toronto Arrows got absolutely zero help from the Western Conference.
Thanks a lot,
Yeah,
West Coast. They
yeah,
say you're the
exactly.
best coast. That's a little damn
Yeah,
lie.
apparently you're not the best coast because the East is killing you this year.
Well, it's funny. I still have that sheet around, but if you look at the stats of the it's actually right here. This was from a few weeks ago, but like without LA, like the East was like 7-2. Like
Yeah,
without LA's wins, like the East was killing the West.
yeah. So here's the other. It's like, what do you know what the Free Jacks, the New England Free Jacks record is right now?
They're
Top of your head?
the Free Jacks are 4-5,
They're
aren't they?
4-5. Yeah. And do you
Yeah,
know how many of those four wins came against Eastern Conference teams?
none. They haven't beaten
Yeah, they haven't beaten
anybody
a
in the
single
East.
Eastern Conference team yet. They're four
That's
and five.
yeah, that's
Crazy.
wild. Which means they're gonna have a real tough second half.
Yeah, yeah. You don't get to play a whole lot of West anymore. So, oh boy,
Yeah, no, it's wild.
that's
I
crazy.
really enjoyed the
But that's the thing though. It's like the worst team in the Eastern Conference is full. Like they lost to LA, right? So the worst team in the Eastern Conference is like 4-1 against
yeah.
the against the West right now. Um, Crazy, realistically.
Yeah, I really enjoyed, mostly because I was just stressing out um about how I wanted Nola to lose, but I really enjoyed watching Nola's game against Utah.
Hmm.
It's just like I was really disappointed that Utah was not able to pull that game out. I mean,
Just because you're an Arrows fan, or for like other reasons?
no, just like I really enjoyed watching Utah this year. I've been loving what been seeing from Mikey Te'o. Um, I've really enjoyed watching Hagen Schrute play. Lance Williams, like Paul Mullen, after watching and thank gosh for the Rugby Network. After watching his documentary about how he's stuck on that island he's been one of my favorite players just to keep tabs on. Um, so anyone that tells you media does not help you cheer for sports is a liar. Um, but
Do
yeah,
people
like
say that?
like people think that like the F1 series, for example, I saw people complaining that like that F1 needs to or an F1 owners need to invest in the sport and not in media. And it's like
That is investing in the sport.
that is investing in the sport. One, two. I now know more people invest in F1 because of that series than advertising or you know
Mhm.
better cars would.
Yeah.
Like
That show was
the
amazing. There is a really cool one on Amazon Prime. It's called Making Their Mark. It's about the 2020.
yeah, my dad was telling me about that. He said that I have to watch it.
Yeah, it's about the 2020 AFL season. Um, and it's super cool because I guess they were clearly like intending to film this as a documentary before the season started. So like the first couple episodes are just like normal, like HBO 24/7 style, like
Yeah.
build up to like the first week or whatever. And then like COVID happens, and it's like they let the cameras go into like the player bubble or whatever. So I guess they were
Mm,
part of the bubble or however, like with the AFL. So it's like you get to kind of see like how all the players like lived in the bubble and stuff. Um,
that's cool.
yeah, exactly. There's some cool stuff that happens. There's some like scenes where they're like because they're all stuck in the bubble or whatever. So there's scenes with like the players talking about how what they're gonna do for like their Black Lives Matter demonstrations and stuff like that. So you kind of it's a lot of cool insight.
Nice. Utah had more carrying meters, more line breaks, more territory possession, or territory possession was 50-50. It just seemed like opportunities were not taken. And Nola is constantly surprising me, whether it be that Arrows game or this game. They've had bad losses, they've had big wins. They're a roller coaster of a team, and I don't know if it's going to be fully sustainable for them to make a long run for the Shield,
Oh,
but they're definitely a fun, considering some of the injuries they've gotten. They're definitely a fun team to watch. So really enjoyed that game. Um, the Canadian content in this game, Howard came off the bench and was fine. Kyle Bailey kind of looked really beat up in this game. He was kind of down on the floor a little bit. Um, Fraser Hurst coming off the bench was fine. It was the. I think you and I talked about this. The Canadian content this week was we didn't have any real outliers that came out and said, "Yeah, I'm gonna change the game this week," which we normally do. And then, yeah, no, that was the game that really excited me. What were there any matches that you know got you fired up this weekend?
Yeah, there was a couple. I thought for the most part the games are actually quite exciting. Again, like there's been some great weekends in Major League Rugby. Um, I think to me it was like one of the more interesting games. I thought, all honesty, was the Rugby ATL Seattle game. Just because I love watching Rugby ATL's defense. It's become one of like my favorite things
Mm.
to get to kind of tune in and tune in and actually see taking place in Major League Rugby. Just because and I'm so excited for the fact that Rugby ATL is playing the Guiltinis this weekend because that's gonna be fun, right? Um, Best offense versus, in my opinion, which would be the best defense in the league. And it's another game where like Rugby ATL doesn't have the majority of the possession at all. Seattle actually did quite well in in that regard. They had like 58% possession. Um, Alatimu did well to like kind of control that possession and stuff. They also did well to kind of control the territory, which is something that Atlanta usually doesn't lose at either. Is they usually don't necessarily have the ball, but they usually have the territory, and I think that's kind of the thing that was impressive about the Atlanta defense in this game is like there's stretches, um, in the second half too, like after the second half hydration break and stuff, whereas like Seattle kind of had Rugby ATL pinned like in their own end for a bit, and the defense just did not budge at all. And like you almost want to kind of be like the bend but don't break, but I don't even really think they bent all that much either. Like it was Matt Heaton had a really nice play to like hold up a Seattle player from scoring a try. He was kind of there with I think it was Momsen that was with him.
Yep.
So there was, so they had that, so they kind of had that, but it was like I'm like kind of surprised as like watching like a lot of the play in that game, even with Seattle kind of trying to press, is it kind of became I was like, at no point was I watching this like did I ever feel like Seattle's actually close to scoring. Like weirdly, like even when like I said, Heaton held held up the ball over the line, it was kind of like even like watching the players run towards Heaton. As soon as Heaton made that tackle, it's like, oh, like he's under the ball. Like there's no
Yeah.
like his momentum, he's gonna land under the ball anyways. It's fine. Um, but I think like, what I mean? Like here, like if you kind of want something though, where it's like, look at the score of this game, right? It's 25-6. It's like you kind of want like stats to kind of separate it and stuff. It's like, so you look at and I immediately just go to the defensive stats, right? Like you have Atlanta makes 159 tackles at 91%, which is exactly what you want. You want to try to hit that like high 80s. 90 is ideal, right? So you're at 91%. And then you have Seattle, who makes 103 tackles at 75%. And
It's just
right.
that's
You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, so Atlanta has the ball 42% of the time, but if you can't stop them when they have like
yeah.
it's like it, you know what I mean? Like if you can't
If it
stop them
doesn't
and
take them long to score tries,
yeah,
then
exactly.
yeah, you're not
They
doing
score
your
tries,
job right.
right?
You
Like
want to try to slow things down.
well, yeah, like
That's
as Kura did well, he had a couple quick strikes. I mean, you have Jans van Rensburg, the classic line out maul that's all works for Atlanta a lot too, right? Um, and when they played, like that's kind of what it came down to, right? And Atlanta's set piece was good too, right? Um, but yeah, like even like it was just one of those things where it's like their defense is so good. Like in this game too, it's just they played the second half down a man for 20 minutes due to two yellow cards,
yeah.
and Seattle couldn't score a try. Right, despite even having the ball for a decent chunk of some of those 10 minutes too. Um, so I mean, like I think like I think it'll be fun. Like with like Atlanta looks like they could are kind of emerging to sort of be the team to beat in the East now. Um,
Well, I mean, they got to prove they're going to prove that this weekend whether
oh man, yeah.
because that's going to
This is a
be
big game for I think this is a big game for them.
for. I mean, LA going to battle against they've had three tough matches
Yeah,
and
whoa.
bang 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 Utah, Austin, and then um Rugby ETL. It is popping with LA. So they're
Yeah,
kind.
I think
We're not happy. You know, a lot of people weren't happy about the middle of the week game, but I think that LA is going to be pretty damn happy coming with this
that'll
game
be
coming up.
interesting. Yeah, that's some rest, a little bit of a rest period there. Um,
It's almost like
Matt
a mini bye
Heaton
week.
though had 22 tackles, 96%. Just
That's
the dude's a
pretty damn good.
monster. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, and like I said, some big tackles too, like try savers mixed in there, right? So like Connor Keys made 100% of his tackles too. He had 9 in the game. He like I thought Keys played kind of quite well. They shifted Retta Linghais to the to flanker. With so the back row was Retta Linghais, Heaton, and Ross Deacon. So kind of showing Scott Lawrence kind of showing he's willing to kind of mix the lineup around a
yeah.
little bit. Um, which is good too. The one thing that's like is kind of interesting though, too, like Seattle, like if you want to say like a positive from Seattle, they only took 4 penalties this entire game. Probably because they had the ball most
They
of the
had the
time.
ball more, so
Yeah,
no
so
defensive penalties.
but you know what? At the end of the day, though, you gotta do something with that ball, right? Which it is kind of why, like, I am excited for
This
LA.
Austin, or sorry, the Seattle team reminds me a lot about the like the 2019
Yeah.
Austin Elite. Like so many bodies are coming in, and it's hard to be like have a like
Yeah, like, it
sustainable
is interesting.
plan
They have a
when
lot
there's
of
so many bodies coming in
new
at like key positions, like at fullback, at flat half, and like it just feels like the backs are a constant rotation.
yeah, you just mean, like, new players constantly, right?
Constant, yeah, like and like even just like from like week to week, like it feels like the back line is constantly like the pack is what it is. Like their pack is what it is. Like that's kind of been
But even
set
that,
unless
like,
there's
they're
injuries.
changing over the pack a little bit too, because it's like Sears Duru and Ilnicki are not playing
Well,
as much as they've
Duru was coming off of an injury.
yeah.
Anyways,
But,
it's
like, Mongola looked like he looked pretty good in this game too, though, so, I mean, that's that might be like Tim Metcher also playing well. James Malcolm, I think, is playing pretty well, so,
yeah,
um, I don't like yeah, I don't know, like, Brad Tucker like, it's weird looking at this roster, it's a pretty good roster, like, the match day 23, like, any squad like, you got, like, Sears Duru, Ilnicki, Tucker, Ferris, Barton, Matthews coming off the bench, like, it's a pretty good sounding squad on paper, it's just
on paper, I mean that was a really good squad in
yeah,
2019. I mean, what there's got to something has happened
yeah,
in that locker room
every like, yeah,
since
I don't know what it is, yeah.
since then has
I
that has
think
happened
though, like one of those things, like with Atlanta, it'd be interesting to see what the Giltini. I want to see the Giltini's game plan for Atlanta's defense
for sure.
this weekend, just because I'm like I think Toronto kind of got onto something with like the chip kicks over the top, which I don't think Seattle really tried enough of
Hmm.
during this game. But LA's got one of the more creative offenses, so I'm
Oh yeah,
curious.
they've got enough guys that can do a good chip kick.
Yeah, good little chip kick over the top or whatever. But
Oh, that'll be
yeah,
exciting.
I mean,
All
yeah,
right. Well, let's move on, Derek, because we got some other stuff to talk about before we get into kind of the meat of our episode. The last thing is this week the MLR is celebrating military appreciation, um, and each team will be wearing a special military appreciation jersey. There's an auction going on. I almost put a bid in for one of the Arrows
Ooh,
jerseys.
which one? Which one?
Almost. Well, I was gonna go for like this. Like, I'm like, okay, well, I want one of the front row jerseys,
Oh,
but um I feel like those ones will go up in price pretty quickly. So I was gonna go with the 16, the backup hooker jersey, because that would have fit
ooh.
fine.
See,
But
the one thing I find kind of interesting is like looking at the website for the auction, like bidding on them has already started,
mhm.
right? So it's kind of, but we don't know the lineups yet. So it's kind
Oh
of
yeah, you don't know who's gonna sign your jersey. Yeah,
yeah, which like. Here I was gonna say like
Well, so while you're looking that up, which I want to quickly hear who's your favorite jersey? Who put out
ooh,
your favorite jersey? I will say I will go. I really love the Arrows jersey. I
here's
really like it. I like the golden leaf. I also really like San Diego's.
yeah, I was gonna say
The
San Diego's
green,
is cool, like
pretty sharp.
the that kind of like army green color
Yeah,
with
I
the
wish that Austin basically used the one they had last year.
with the central. See, here's my thing with it is like I do like Austin's. I like
I think their last one, their year one last year was better
yeah, I really like New England's is cool with just the camo like stripe up
on
the
the
side.
stripe.
See, my least favorite one is New York. Just 'cause
Well, I don't understand
it's just all
LA's.
I don't really get
I
LA's.
don't get it. I
Um,
don't like.
I think it kind of looks nice. I don't
It looks good.
yeah,
I don't get why it's military though.
yeah,
Like
I'm
the
not
other ones are camo
I
or
think
whatever.
Old Glories kind of disappoints me only because they wear the best Memorial Day jerseys every other day of the year. Um, so like that's the best Memorial Day and
It's
July
like
4th jerseys. Um, but like I don't know, like for me, I'm just kind of like I kind of like the ones I like Toronto's, I like New England's, I like Austin, I like Houston's too. Um,
you're
I think
sucker for
San
Houston though.
Diego is my favorite one just because they kind of changed it with like the army green color. It looks nice with the American flag on it too.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's what I liked. That's why I picked San Diego and Toronto. Is they seem to be
yeah,
the most
I
unique.
think yeah,
Everyone
like
else kind of
I
just
like
went
the
camo.
ones that are like more subtly camo. Like I don't like New York's at all. Like it's just it's too much camo. Like I get why you're doing camo because of Memorial Day.
Yeah.
But like I don't I always found like on sports jerseys and stuff like because obviously the one thing that I do really like about this is I like that it's like a weekend where like you're creating some new merch and stuff that fans can obviously they can are going to be auctioned off and like the money's going to charity and stuff and like, I think that's great, but it's like I think like that's something that maybe can evolve. Like next year, you kind of go with like, maybe that baseball kind of style route, right? Where it's like every, or most holidays or whatever have like, a specialty jersey or specialty hat or something that you can buy in like the team stores and stuff. So I think the whole idea of doing this is amazing to me. Maybe, maybe it can evolve into next year and stuff. I know like the rugby shop has a lot of camo gear currently up on it right now too. So I think that's kind of cool to see like Major League Rugby taking those types of like merchandising steps.
Right.
So I think that's awesome. I am very curious though to see like whose jersey sells for the most. I think that's kind of
Yeah.
that's
I
gonna be
wonder if we
one.
once we get closer to rosters or lineups being
Well, here
announced,
I
if the
was
bids will go up.
like I said, the interesting thing is the lineups haven't come out yet, but people are bidding on jerseys. So
And we're recording this, folks, at on Wednesday.
yeah.
That 6:43
So
in the afternoon. So,
So as of right
um,
now, like I'm just looking at the Giltinis because the Giltinis have been like the most apparently the most active one right now. There's a couple like um number 4 is up to $200 already.
okay.
So I guess that's you're hoping for what Dave Dennis with that one, I guess. Um 6 and 7 are at 200 each. So like, you know, Cottrell, Podoivin, Thomas, I guess one of those guys. Eight's also at 200. 10 is already at 400 without so I mean that's either like
Ghetto or Cardi.
I was gonna say that's either looking like a good price for a Matt Giddo game worn autographed jersey or that's a that's a expensive Lucardi jersey. I'm not really sure yet. Um
TBD, to be determined.
yeah. Number 11, so typically DTH Vandermerver is at 225. Adam Ashley Cooper's 13, or whoever actually ends up playing 13. 13 is at $300. 14, which is kind of a rotating cast of people on LA, I guess, is at $250. So I guess that'll be either Ryberg or James, I'm guessing. But
Yeah.
um Stu better get on that soon, man. Should tell him it's getting its prices going up.
Still, it's getting up in price, dude.
Yeah, exactly. And then all the bench guy. Oh, so number 23 is at $200 as well. So Stu might
All
be out of
right.
luck on the Ryan James one there because I feel like that's where the 23
Yeah.
usually goes.
Well, we're pretty excited. We're
Yeah,
pretty darn excited about these jerseys.
yeah, I think
Um,
they look cool. Number one for the Toronto Arrows, so I guess you're hoping for Cole Keith with that is $300 already.
whew.
Yeah,
And they started a lot lower, so that's good for them.
yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
yeah, they're either.
let's.
I think the ones without bids right now are listed as zero.
I
Um,
know, but minimum was 100,
oh, the minimum's 100.
and I
Oh,
think some of the other ones started at like 200, 175
mm,
for the American ones.
yeah.
All right, Derek. Well, we gotta move on because we gotta talk about some Toronto Arrows, and so we are unofficially a little bit one game past the kind of midway point for the Arrows. Um, and I wanted to look back at kind of some of the stuff that we talked about at
Oral
the beginning
rugby
of the
term,
season.
we are through the first 5/8 of the season. But but no laugh
No,
stand.
I'm not.
No.
I'm not in the mood.
What? Oh well, too bad because that's what I'm calling the episode. I decided that last
All
night.
right, that's fine. Um, I look back. I listened to our season preview about the Arrows, and there's some things that I kind of want to bring up. Um, we all thought that the Arrows would be in the playoffs, which hasn't happened yet. Their path there is going to
Nobody's
be
technically in the playoffs yet.
okay. Fine, fine. On technicalities, you are correct, Derek.
Then.
Um, I was very worried about about their new home and the situation, and that has seemed to come to fruition, unfortunately. And that was one of those situations where I wanted to be wrong. But actually, we mentioned the interview earlier. If anyone really wants to kind of dive into what this effect of living away from Canada has been like on the Arrows, both Lucas Rumball and Chris Silverthorne have talked about this and how hard it is and how not being able to see their family and stuff like that. So that was one thing I didn't want to go be right about, but unfortunately I was. We also talked about that Tucalet and Montero would have a huge impact on the season, and surprise, surprise, we were right. They've both been playing,
They've been pretty good.
spectacularly.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to kind of go into has there been someone that's really kind of stood out to you so far, Derek, with the first half of the Euro season?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've
We
said.
don't have too much time, so I want to give you like
Oh
one
well,
or
that's
two
fine because
guys.
people can go back and listen to the other 7 episodes where we call Lucas Rumball the best player in the league. So, like I think his breakdown steal total is still absolutely bananas. Um, it's yeah, like I think I think he's been one of the best players. He's among the league leaders in like tackles, ruck arrivals, breakdown steals by 7.5 miles. But like it's like like he's the captain of the team and stuff too. It's yeah, I don't think Lucas Rumball has yet to play a bad game this year. Despite what the Arrows record is, like Rumball's been unreal. I think Della Vega and Diana have been at times equally as unreal as Rumball. The back row's just been phenomenal to me. Um, I think yeah, like I think Cole Keith is starting to adapt really well to like the loose head side and stuff. I think
Yeah,
he's getting a lot better at handling that, which is good to see. Mason Flesh, I think, is adapting
yeah,
well to the
and before
program.
his injury, Adrian Wadden was.
Yeah, I thought yeah. So it's like
I don't think I've ever felt as optimistic about the upcoming lock situation between Flesh,
yeah,
Duguid,
yeah, they look
and
good.
Wadden. We've been pretty
I know.
fortunate in 2021 with Canadian locks.
Yeah, like I know we hyped up Siaki Vikilani before the season started. Unfortunately, his injury has kept him out for the first half of the year, and but like I don't know, I'm still excited to see what he brings to the table. Hopefully, we get to see a little bit more of him in the second half of the season. Lesage, I think, has been outstanding.
Oh yeah, unreal.
Yeah, like I think the one thing that it's like, man, Ben Lesage is just so good defensively. Like it's amazing. And it's such a like I think that's why like teams can have trouble scoring on like the Toronto Arrows, especially if they attack like where the centers usually are because you kind of run into Lesage and it's super fun to watch, man. His tackling ability is outstanding. Um, like I said, I think I mean, as far as like the new additions go, I mean, like Cortez, bit of a rough start with the cards constantly, but I mean, I think like that's obviously some nice back or some front row depth going to be needed in the second half. We haven't seen Canada's roster for we've seen our friends south of the borders roster, but we haven't seen the Canada
Mhm.
roster yet. Which knowing us will probably come out like 10 minutes after we release this episode. Um, but
Now I'm gonna check Twitter just because you said that. And
oh
now
yeah,
I'm
yeah, you should. All right, we're gonna do the live reaction to Canada's roster announcement right now. Um, yeah, like I think there's been a lot of players. I think the interest, obviously, scrum half has been an intriguing part. I think Ross Brody, he didn't get into I think the third game of the year, which was the first game of the year was won, and then he's kind of like run with it. His ball distribution and stuff has been really nice. I think he's putting himself in a nice position for a spot on, that the Canadian team for that summer tour. Um, overseas, and then obviously the World Cup qualifiers later this year in against the Americans too. So I think like I don't know, man. There's a lot of guys that I think have been like really good. Um Cellini, I think, has had some monster games too. Um, Spencer Jones. Um I think I like Spencer Jones as a 12 with Lesage more than when he was in the 13 spot. I think he's kind of adapts to his game a little bit better.
yeah.
I think Parfrey's been really good, especially since he's kind of playing wherever he's needed. Yeah, like Taylor Adams. Does he still lead the league in scoring? I'm not really sure.
No, Hollingshead has
Holland,
because of the game last week
yeah,
and also the game where Adams didn't play.
yeah.
He's taken over, and I think he's been in it for a while ever since that game against LA. Or
Ah,
yeah,
well deserved. All right, so yeah, like Holland said, but I mean Adams was up there for most of the season too, and I think what you kind of saw like when he was playing with Atlanta, that little bit of factor that he can bring, like those nice like those well placed like chip kicks over the top and stuff. Um, he's really good at like dissecting defenses and like finding the gaps in them. So like that's on been great to see. He's been a real fun to watch. I feel like I'm just naming everybody on the roster at this point,
I
though.
know. I said a couple guys, and you've named a whole bunch of guys.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks for leaving somebody for me. But you know what? I'll say I've really enjoyed. You kind of mentioned
I
someone
mentioned
that
everybody.
also,
So yeah.
yeah, you mentioned everybody. I've really liked what I've seen from Tyler Rowland.
Oh,
I
the
think
one guy
he's
I didn't
been,
mention. Nice.
yeah, he's.
See, I did save somebody for you.
I really think that he deserves to be starting in that 3 jersey. He's played really
Yeah,
well,
he's
and
been really good.
I think that he's just a little bit quicker than Cortez in terms of
Mhm.
you know tackle rates and then getting back up and moving. I think Cortez is just the age and also the hard years of playing in the Premiership and the Championship have really kind of taken a toll on the body, and he just doesn't seem to have the same pep, and that has caused for penalties and a yellow card against LA. Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed his play. I was also going to say Pat Parfrey, whether it be at center or fullback, he has been kind of a nice Swiss knife to watch. He's had limited playing time, but I've liked what I saw from Mitch Richardson. Um,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
he's been serviceable, and that switch to the wing has been an interesting one for him.
Yeah. I think
Um,
I mean, I think like once we find out the Canada roster and stuff, I think we're gonna start seeing guys
yeah,
like Richardson a whole
he's
lot
going to be playing a whole lot, and it's really too bad that Marcelo Wainwright has now left to come back to Canada because of his injury. Because I think that he would have had a
He would have.
real big opportunity, and it'll be interesting. So so it's funny that you brought up Vicky Lonnie because I don't think that they'll pick him because he hasn't been playing a lot. He hasn't been playing at
Yeah.
all. He
Yeah.
hasn't played at all, right? But I wonder if
He's
seeing
been.
the things like Kinsley Jones saying that he wants to pick a young team and it wants it to be like Italy, he wants to give the young guys opportunities. I was wondering if maybe Vikilani would be picked to go with Canada and tour, but I think he's going to get a whole bunch of opportunities.
Yeah.
especially with Diana, if Diana leaves for Uruguay duty, we're gonna see
Yeah.
a lot of Ikilani, a lot of Colby Francis, a lot of Tyler Rowland and Pat Lynott. There's going to be a lot of guys that are going to be getting a whole lot of playing time, especially in that pack. Depending on who Kingsley Jones picked, we might have a very weak pack. So some of these
I
guys are going to have a
I
real
mean,
opportunity to.
I think the pack would still be good, but I mean, yeah, it's not going to be.
I mean,
Nola's pack's in trouble with
yeah.
the international
But
test
think
now.
about it. Like you take Keith Quatrin out of it.
Yeah,
That our hooker depth
yeah. Have you
is then McRogers, and then um the young guy that came from why am I
Atkinson and
Atkinson. So, and who do we have for props? Ouellette's back, he's
yeah,
now with
Led
the team.
Atkinson. Atkinson can play prop and hooker
He
too.
can play pop. Anyway, so but the point is like our depth is now
It's being
gone if
tested.
we
It's being tested.
yeah.
But
So
like, have you seen Nola though? Did you look at the Eagles squad?
I
And
did look at it, but I didn't
oh, dude, their pack's gone. Like
yeah.
it
So
literally. So okay, so you have the Eagles. Gary Gold. Hold on, let me find it. Gary Gold selected from Nola. Dolan, Guerrera, Harmon, Tonga Hui, and Waldron. Right. So that's the starting loose head, tight head, and the entire back row.
and then they'll take
And then they're
Bailey,
gonna
and then
take
Canada's gonna take Bailey, and
Bailey.
they'll take Howard.
Howard.
No, not
That like it's literally like I
I
guess
think I
they
mean,
would have
and then you look at
Stewart. They would have like who like I guess
Billy
normally lines up
Stewart.
with Bailey, right? So it'd be Stewart or Doty. So it's like those are the two guys like you have seven. I mean, I know Pat O'Toole has been probably outplaying Howard for parts of this season, and
Yes.
he did score 2 tries on the weekend. So I mean, like it's looking like it's going to be increasingly more difficult for Howard to get
Mhm.
that 2 jersey back. Um, but like, realistic, it's not out of the realm of possibility that like Nola would start a pack that would be Harmon, Howard, Waldron, Bailey, um, I guess Stewart, let's say, and then the back row of Guerrera, Tonga Hue, and Dolan.
I mean, and like look at like
It's tough.
Rooney lost their engine room, Savetta and Breakley, and then also lost their captain and
Oh man,
also
yeah.
Hammersice. So yeah, no, the
And
arrows, the
even like
arrows.
we're
I
talking
mean,
about like Utah's offense, and it's like, yeah, Basca, Kruse, Teo, like
yeah,
they're gonna go. Like it's
and like so when people talk about why do the arrows spend the money on guys um like uh like Adams and Tucalet and Montero, this is why. Because I mean, not every year they're going to have
I don't think, yeah,
international
like
test
maybe it
window
is, but
bothering them, but
yeah.
stuff like this is going to happen in the future.
I mean,
All right,
normally it's not supposed to though. Like it's
no,
just because they pushed the season back because of
for sure.
COVID, right? But
All right, well let's look forward to week 11, because we have this is a matchup that I was looking forward to at the beginning of the year. The Arrows versus the Free Jacks. We've never seen it before. Last year they didn't get to this match before the season ended. I actually was this not the next match the Arrows were going to play?
no, it was New York. Was
New
the
York.
next one.
Oh, okay. But this will be in New England. Correct me if I'm wrong, Derek.
You're the guy that does the schedule, yeah. You tell
Oh
me.
boy,
Yeah, it's
we're
New
on.
England.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um. So it's going to be a very interesting game, in my opinion. How do we feel about the matchup with the Free Jacks? What do they need to do? I mean, it seems to be that to me that the uh the Free Jacks kind of have this three-headed monster in Fife, Poland, and Waka. Everything seems to run between those three, and then you kind of just make plays based off of them.
Yeah.
Um,
So based on what you just said, Dan, shut down Fife, Poland, and Waka.
Shut them down.
Yeah.
It's
Go
you
with
know what
the old like you said at the top of the show, the Winnipeg Jets treatment to like stop McDavid and Drysdale and then walk away with a win. Um Yeah, I think that'd be a big one too. I think like you gotta make sure you have a good set piece to kind of match up against especially we saw what the Maul did to Rooney on the weekend.
Yeah, holy.
Um, yeah, just that was nuts. So I mean you gotta definitely be prepared to stop that. I thought Toronto when Toronto played New York, Toronto game planned really well for New York's rolling ball. And we're able to shut that down. So you definitely gotta bring that back. Um, like I said, I think you know, guys like Josh Larson, really good in the breakdown. So that's you got to kind of win that battle. I think ultimately, like for the arrows and stuff, it's just going to kind of come down to like we know, like their offense can beat the New England's defense. Like I'm not worried about that, but it does come down to like your ability to execute. And I think with this game, to me, really signifies though is like you need to kind of set the tone for the second half of the season.
And this would be a
Basically,
real big statement.
yeah, exactly. You need a big win here. Like I said earlier, like New England hasn't won a game against an Eastern Conference team, right? You can't be
Yeah,
the
you don't want to
first
be the
one.
guy.
You
Yeah, you
can't be
don't
the
want to be
first
number
one.
one.
No,
Yeah,
exactly.
for
But I
sure.
think like right now, okay, so like if we're looking at the playoff outlook, right? So Dan, what do you think right now? So right now we have Atlanta and New York are sitting at 6-3. Atlanta's got a couple more bonus points. They got 31 points to New York's 29.
Hmm.
Like, what do you realistically think the record of the two Eastern Conference playoff teams is going to be?
So there's 16 games.
Yeah. So right now they're at the top with 6-3. So that's about a 66.666 a billion sixes because it's the third winning percentage.
I think it's hard to not hold down that top spot with anything more than 5 losses.
All right.
I
So yeah,
think
okay.
that I think
So
that Rugby ATL could afford to have
two.
two more
Lose two games.
losses, lose
Yeah.
2 games.
Okay. So you're saying like first place will be like 11-5.
Yeah,
And then like what second will either also be 11-5 or like 10-6 maybe?
yeah, I think around that.
Yeah, okay. So basically then, if you're the Toronto Arrows using that assessment, which I do agree with, you already got your 5 losses. So
Yeah, they have no
yeah,
room for error.
buckle up, man.
Uh,
It's the same thing as last year. Like you have to probably run the table, and not only that, you have to pick up bonus points while you do it. Right.
which
So
I think it's a hell of a lot harder to do this year than I think the competition in
to run
2021
the table, yeah.
to run the table compared
It'll
to
be tough.
2019 is very, very
But
difficult.
that's even what I was saying. Like, what I kind of agree with what you were saying there, Dan, with 11-5 is because it was like, I was kind of looking at the max, like Atlanta or Rooney can go is 13-3. And I'm just like, like that's kind of, I guess, my issue, my trouble right now is it's like, I don't know, like 7 wins in a row is going to be tough.
Yeah,
Right.
so
You got to do it if you're the
like
Toronto
the
Arrows, I think.
easiest,
So,
the quote unquote easiest competition they're going to have is going to be the Legion and Old Glory.
yeah, the yeah, old
Or if you're going past
the
games,
Free Jacks.
Rooney.
But like the East is nuts, right? So it's like, but I
Oh
think
no, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Next week they have the Legion.
yeah. So
So
I think first things first. I think if you're looking at like the Arrows' outlook for making the playoffs, you can't lose to the West because nobody else is losing to the West. You
yeah,
can't lose to the Free Jacks because nobody else is losing to the Free Jacks. Right. So you got to take care of those 5 games immediately or whatever. Is that 5 games? 4? Yeah. They got no
It-
4 games. That'd be 4 games. They got two
yeah,
games left against the West. They got Austin and San Diego.
yeah.
Um, and then 2 games. So you got to so you have to win those 4
And one of those games is against a team that you've never beaten.
to
Nola,
sorry.
Nola. They've never
Oh
beaten
yeah.
Nola.
Then they gotta play Nolan again. Yeah. Um. Right. So it's like, but like, I don't know. How's that timing work out? Do you get Nola when they have no pack? Like, because that could be beneficial. Although Toronto might not have much of a
They
pack
might not
either.
have a pack either.
Um, it's yeah,
It's going to be
it's
very
gonna be tough. I
interesting.
think I think the
Get your
internationals
bonus
throws
points now while you can.
yeah, exactly. Like you have to but that's the thing though too, like um I think I'm almost at this point, like unless it's a matter of you can win the game on this kick or whatever, go for like I
go
kick
for
for the
the
corner every single time.
which they're used to. So
Yeah,
yeah, it'll be
exactly. Like, I
interesting.
think you got to kick for the corner every single time. I think if you look at the West right now, right, like I'm looking at um the Utah Warriors and the Austin Gilgronis are tied at for second right now. With the difference being the fact, but Austin's 5-4 and Utah's 4-5. Right. The difference is like Utah's got 10 bonus points.
Yeah.
So they got to Austin 6. So they like Utah right now has a full extra win of bonus points on Austin. Right. So it's like that could be, if they end up tied, like a similar record, that could be like the difference. Right. So, and that was kind of the difference. That was the difference between I think that was the difference between home field,
The
and
Arrows and Rooney.
yeah, for that too. Right. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like that, I think that's kind of what we're at. And I think, looking at the outlook on the season and stuff, and it's like I still want to like keep that faith and belief, but it's like for right now, like you need to
They need
the arrows with under Pete Smith and the attack that he has designed, if it clicks, I think it's one of the best attacks in the league. Like when it's on, we've seen it when it's on. It's on like we saw like the game against Seattle, where like when
Rooney,
it's
Old Glory.
unstoppable. Yeah, Rooney, like exactly. Basically, the games that they've won. When the Arrows attack is on, like it's unstoppable. We saw, even Atlanta, right? Like we'll talk about they had a chance to win that game, and kind of slipped through their fingers at the end, right? But it's like the attack made those adjustments and stuff and started breaking down that, tough Atlanta defense. And it's right. So it's like, I think that's what you got to do against the Free Jacks. Like you said, though, Dougie Fife, Ben Lesage, like I said, one of the best defensive centers in the league. Have fun with him.
Yep. Good luck.
Because
Make your tackles.
yeah, exactly. Lesage wins that battle, the Arrows probably win the game. Because and then what I mean? Like you win that, you don't let New England roll you over with the line out ball. You probably win the game.
Yeah. All
Right.
right.
And
Well,
so
let's
that's when it comes back. That was kind of long-winded, but whatever.
yeah, let's finish up. We got a couple shout outs that we want to make out to some impressive accomplishments over in Europe. Young Tyler Duguid has won the Challenge Cup with Montpellier. They beat the Leicester Tigers 18-17, a close match. Tyler came on near the end of the game and kind of finished off his pretty successful run lately, and then he also started started then another top 14 game this week. So he's on a good little run of convincing the coach there that he is a important part of this team. So good for him. We will definitely be seeing him in Canada Red this summer. There's no doubt in my mind. Sophie DeGood and Emma Taylor and Alyssa Corrigan are now going to be playing in the Premier 15s final. Yeah, I wrote that before I even knew Derek was going to wear that jersey.
I literally put it on just because Sophie DeGoody won the player of the match and absolutely dominated the Lightning. And you gotta, the Arrows didn't play this weekend, so rocking the Saracens gear felt good, man.
And tough break for
another championship coming to the Saracens' way here.
They got another game to win, so don't get too confident. Unfortunately, that means that Abby Duguid and Dalika Menon's seasons are over for Longborough, but they had a strong season as well. Another women's player in England has won Player of the Year for Exeter. Emily Tatulsi finished off her strong year. She played very well for Exeter, so we wanted to congratulate Emily and Sophie and Emma and Alyssa for all having fantastic seasons. For the Saracens, it's not over yet, so we're looking forward to watching that game this weekend. All right, Derek, we've got some rugby matches to predict. The first one we're going to talk about is San Diego versus Houston.
Well, do we know who Stu and the Toonie picked?
All right, everyone, these are my picks for round 11. So first up, we have San Diego versus Houston. Houston just haven't really been able to challenge in any of these games. Even in the most recent game, they failed to even get the losing bonus point. And San Diego, fresh off a bye week at home, it's going to have to be the Legion. Okay, game 2 is New England at home versus Toronto. The Free Jacks, they haven't had the best run in previous games. That said, they do have a great home record so far. But Toronto, I think they have great attacking pace. Obviously, I don't know who is going to be in the match day 23 at this point, but I think having that bye week to rest, recover, plan ahead, and after New England's inability to see the games out, I'm going to have to go with Toronto. Okay, ATL versus Los Angeles. ATL have been doing pretty well. They're on a 4-game winning streak, but they are going up against the strongest team in MLR at the moment. Now, could this be that another Eastern team gets the win over LA? I think it's possible, but they're still too strong for me at the moment. I'm going to have to go with Los Angeles. Okay, and now for the 4th game of the round, it is Utah versus Austin. Utah, they're at home. They've had a good record at home as well. I think they've only lost 1 game, and that was to Seattle. Austin, again, will have been very hard done by. I think the scoreline in their game against LA didn't reflect how well they performed, and I still believe that defense wins games, so I'm going to go with the second strongest defense in MLR in Austin. Now, DC versus New York. DC have been now on a winning match run, but New York appear to be firing on all cylinders. I know this is going to be at Segra Field, but I think it's going to be New York that walks away victorious. And now for the team picks that you actually want to hear. It's time for the toonie. Again, heads for the home team, tails for away team. Let's get to it. So, we have in the following order, San Diego versus Houston. The toonie goes for San Diego. New England versus Toronto. The toonie goes for New England. ATL versus Los Angeles, and the toonie goes for ATL. Utah versus Austin. Toonie goes for Utah. And finally, DC versus New York. The toonie goes for New York. Those are my picks. Those are the toonie's picks. Make of that what you will.
Okay, Derek. So we've got a couple really interesting matchups this week. The first one is San Diego versus Houston.
Yeah,
Teams
so
that really have had a rough go of it this season. So
yeah, both teams really have. Houston kind of had a little bit of a slog against Old Glory in the pouring rain last week, and it was one of those games still where they couldn't quite like connect offensively. Balacana kind of let a try kind of just waver as he just dropped the ball wide open on the wing. So they've been kind of struggling. Obviously, San Diego's had a tough go of it. They crushed NOLA before the bye week, though. Maybe being back home. Haven't seen the lineup yet. Rob Shaw tweeted that picture of him training, though. So that's interesting. If he's back, who knows? I haven't seen the lineup yet, though. I'm gonna take. I'll take the Legion. I'll go with the Legion on this one.
I feel like I've been done dirty by both these teams.
I know.
I've said Houston. I've said San Diego. Just because everybody else has picked San Diego, I'm gonna go with Houston.
Nice. Nice.
Like,
you know what that means? Honestly, can we pick tie? Is that an option?
You could, if you really want to go for tie.
Yeah. There we go. What do I get? I get the bonus. I get a bonus point if we do that, though. All right. I'm going to stick with San Diego, not the tie. But
all right, cool. All right, Rugby ATL versus LA. For reference, Stu and the Toonie both picked San Diego. In this matchup, there was a split. Stu picked LA. The Toonie picked Rugby ATL. Who are you feeling? What do you think this match is going to be?
I want to hear what you have to say on this one first.
Damn. So I think the big difference is where Austin has had really strong top of the league defense. Rugby ETL has had really strong top of the league defense, and also an offense that has clicked and also been flexible. You know, you got guys like O'Keefe that can just like rip you to shreds, and Escura. But they also have like one of the best mauls in the league where they can just win a line out with like Monson and Ranglingheis, and then just trounce it into your try zone. But it's so damn hard to pick against LA. So I think I'm gonna go with LA.
Oh man. Yeah, I think it is hard to pick against LA. Offense wins games, defense wins championships. They're not playing for an actual championship, but screw it. I'm still gonna pick Atlanta because why not?
I honestly like this is so hard.
Here's the thing. I think if I mean I know Rooney got to them, but it's like I'm thinking like okay, like their only loss so far is an Eastern Conference team when they traveled. They're traveling to the East again, and they've got the best defensive team in the league that, like Dan, you kind of just mentioned, they can also are capable of putting points up on the board. Like it's interesting. It's the best team in the East versus the best team in the West at the halfway point. So maybe it's a little bit of an early finals preview. So I don't know. I'm gonna take Atlanta. I don't think this is just because. Yeah, I'm gonna back Atlanta here. Why not?
Okay. Utah versus Austin. Stu went with Austin. The Toonie picked Utah. I'm kind of leaning on sticking with Stu on this one. I think that, again, you mentioned it, there's a little bit of injury bug in Austin. I think that they'll get back to their winning ways against Utah, even though they lost them at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I think this is a big game for both these teams. Obviously, they're tight in the standings right now. I think LA kind of showed that a high-powered offense can crack that Austin D, and if Teo and Cruze and Basca are rolling again,
and the last time they played, Cruze was not part of that.
He was not
Utah lineup.
Yeah, so if they're rolling like they have been in the past couple weeks, yeah, I'll go with Utah too.
OG and Rooney.
Oh man, the East versus East matchups are always the toughest ones, I think.
I'm going with New York.
This one?
Pardon me?
Who's at home for this one?
Old Glory.
Dan, do I see that you've typed in Rooney here?
I did pick Rooney.
You did type in Rooney. So I mean, Stu picked Rooney. The Toonie picked Rooney. Doug Frazier was on our podcast, and so was Luke Campbell. And we haven't had a guy from Rooney come on yet, Dan. So I'm going to put my faith in the boys that support us. So we're going with Old Glory DC.
Okay. It's not the last game of the weekend, but I save the best for last. Toronto versus New England.
Yeah, Toronto. For all the reasons I kind of said earlier, I think Toronto can stop that maul, which has been like the main, like the Toronto can stop that maul. I think Lesage can stop Dougie Fife in the middle of the pitch too. So I think if Lesage shuts down Fife and that maul stops, then be a long day in New England. So I'm going with Toronto.
All right, well, that's all we have for tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you are looking to listen to more of our episodes about the previous seasons, about the World Cup, about kind of the pandemic shutdown, and then we interviewed a whole bunch of Canadian rugby players, you can find all of our episodes on YouTube, on all the podcast platforms. You can find the links on our Instagram, our Facebook, our Twitter. We're all there. It's all there. We're pretty vocal on most things. And also leave us some reviews. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Let us know what you want to hear from us. We've got a Gmail account that Derek has promised in the last episode he's going to check more. Rouge Rugby at gmail.com, Derek.
LaRouge Rugby podcast at gmail.com. For some reason, somebody already had at LaRouge Rugby at gmail.com. So I'm not really.
Probably me, and I forgot the password. Let's be honest.
Oh, do you think it is? Yeah, it's either that or it's somebody that's trying to like maybe hoping our brand becomes big and we really want to pay for that Gmail account later in life.
No, it's okay. We can keep it. All right, guys. Well, we've got a big weekend of rugby, so hopefully you guys all enjoy it.
Also, go Leafs, go.